That's it. That's all we can do. Hello and good evening. Happy Thursday. How art thou? How are we doing today? I need. All right, so we'll give it, of course, a few seconds and then we will get started. Are we ready tonight? Are you ready tonight? Because I'm ready tonight. How's your day going? How are you feeling today? And what brings you here to this discussion at 10 p.m. after work? This is like late night talk. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. And yes, I'm glad you're here. So I hope you've had an amazing day today. I hope whatever it is that you desired to achieve and accomplish, you were able to get that done. I hope that you experienced joy today in some aspect, some way, shape, or form. And I especially hope that as we're talking about walking in your power, that you've been able to tap into your personal power at some point today. So as always, I'm Dr. Nicole J., your confidence coach, helping you to discover ways to improve and enhance your confidence so that you can start to walk in and get the things in life that you desire and you deserve. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. As always, I'm going to start off with 2 quotes concerning the topic that we're going to be discussing today. And so the first quote is, "True power comes from standing in your own truth and walking your own path." That's by Elizabeth Gilbert. I'll say that one again. True power comes from standing in your own truth and walking your own path. Why do we think that's important? I mean, I have a second quote, but when I read that, I immediately felt that when we talk about standing in your own truth, what is your truth? Not necessarily just your truth about life, the truth about yourself. Because we're talking about your power. What do you believe about yourself? What do you believe is for you? Wow. What do you believe is yours? And are you going after what's yours? And walking your own path. Have you ever noticed that you're more empowered to do something when it's something that you feel you're called to do? So when I say called to do it, I'm not really talking about like, I feel God called me to do it, but not walking in someone else's shoes, but doing what it is that you're strong in, leaning to your strengths, doing what makes you feel good about yourself. Do you do that? Second quote is, "You either walk inside your story and own it, right? Or you stand outside your story and hustle for your worthiness." This one is by Brene Brown. So when I read this, it immediately hit me, right? You either walk inside your story and own it, or you stand outside your story and hustle for your worthiness. Have any of you ever done that before? Because I know I have. Wanting to be like somebody else. And I said this last week and probably several weeks before, that everything we're talking about is connected, right? So when we're talking about walking in your power, it has to be about what's for you. It can't be about what somebody else wants for you. When we talked about self-love, we talked about that, right? So if your goal, or if just the way you're living your life is based on what someone else wants for you, or what someone else has planned for you, or what you think will make somebody else happy, you're not walking in your power. Now, that's not to say that you may not have a gift and someone sees that gift and they want you to walk in and operate in the gift that they see in you. That's not to say that you don't have a gift, but that may be to say that that's not what you're necessarily called to do. Do you know that you have multiple gifts? That may not mean that you're supposed to operate in all of them on a consistent basis, right? So that stuck out to me about that quote. And when you're standing outside of your story and you're hustling for your worthiness, that specific part is the part that hit me, because it's like you're longing to be accepted. You're longing for people to see you as if you're saying, hey, look at me. Look at what I can do. But when you're confident in what's for you and who you are and where you're going, you don't have to wave a flag at people for them to look at you, because your confidence shines through. Because what you're called to do, the power that's within you draws people to you. So you don't have to hustle to feel worthy when you're walking in your power. I hope that makes sense. I hope that hit you like it hit me. I have so many times walked behind, followed, walked alongside of people that had different goals, different visions, different dreams, and different gifts than me. But because they saw something in me, I said, they must know something I don't know. They must see something I don't see. That can be the case sometimes. But we have what's called intuition. And what does that tell us? It tells us that we know ourselves. We know something about us that other people don't know. We go, look, we're in our heads at night, not them. We know what we're strong at. And sometimes we can fake the funk. Sometimes we can pretend, right? But we don't want to live a life of pretending. We want to be walking in our strengths. So what comes to mind when you hear walking in your power, right? What is it that stands out to you when you think of or when you hear walking in your power? So if you're like me, it might be spiritual, right? The first thing that comes to mind may be thinking of the power of God in you, power of the Holy Spirit in you, guiding you and leading you. But that's not what we're talking about today. Though we do know that that is a power that is within us, we also have a personal power. We have influence. We have a knowledge. And an ability, an innate ability within us to draw other people. And not just to draw them, but to impact the world around us. And I'll give you my personal definition, right? My personal definition of walking in your power is you having the knowledge, you having the knowledge of and using your inherent gifts and abilities to impact the world around you. That's my definition of walking in your power. So you know what your inner power is, and you walk in it, and it's your ability to impact others. It's your ability to touch others. And did you know that when you're walking in what's yours and people are drawn to you, that's your opportunity, that's your moment to be able to touch them in a way that you can't touch people if you're not walking in what's yours? Let me give you a case in point. There are people who are really good at singing. They can do all the riffs and runs and everything, right? But have you ever heard someone who it's obviously not their calling, not that they can't sing, but that there's nothing that touches people when they sing? Have you ever heard that? That yes, you have a gift, but what you do doesn't impact people. It's like something that you like to do, but it's not something that affects people in a way that brings change. Have you ever experienced that? That's what I'm talking about. That person has tapped into a gift, but not into their power. And it's not until you've tapped into that power that you're able to affect change, that you're able to touch people, that you're able to impact the world around you. That's what I mean when I say walking in your power. And so, so this absolutely relates to confidence as well. It's not just about what you know, but it's about what you're willing to stand in. Because even if you're doing something that you absolutely love, if you're not confident to stand in it when other people don't believe in you, to walk in it when you have obstacles, when you have things that look like this is not what I'm supposed to be doing, you have to know for yourself. And then you have to be able to keep going. And that's hard. That's not to say that walking in your power is something that we all can do flawlessly, perfectly every single time, because conflict comes. It's hard to believe in something sometimes when you don't understand it. And I say that to say, for instance, I know that since I was a young girl, one of my strengths is the ability to encourage people. One of my strengths is the ability to pour into others. And I've been doing it my entire life, right? If I wasn't doing that, I would be feeling lost. I would be feeling like there's something missing out of my life. In the same way, if I decided that it's just too much, people don't understand, people don't listen when I'm trying to talk to them and pour into them, it's not something I want to keep doing. If I decided that, and I decided that, whatever I do, I'm just going to be selfish from now on, the impact that I have with other people won't be as great. And when we think about purpose, isn't our purpose, because we're interpersonal, isn't our purpose, doesn't it deal with other people? Doesn't it deal with not only our own fulfillment, but helping other people reach their goals? It absolutely does. So think about this. How can we be confident in something that's foreign to us, right? So if you've never stopped to think about what is it that makes me feel most powerful? And not powerful as in, I'm over somebody else, but powerful as in it makes me feel like I can do anything. That power that's within you that speaks to you to tell you this is what's for you. It's like having a gift for love. Love and a gift for dance. But deciding that you wanted to be a librarian instead because you're not confident in your ability. You love it, but I'm not confident enough to keep going in that area, in that arena. So what are you doing? You're hiding your power instead of letting it shine through. How many of us do that? And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But that's not the life that we want to lead. Somebody said, oh my goodness, you're so good at organizing, you should be a librarian. You should be an administrative assistant. And I'm good at it, but that's not where my power lies. That's not what brings me joy. That's not what helps me to know that I'm having an impact in the world. So that makes it difficult for you to want to push forward when things get hard if you're not walking in your power. And we can even use it synonymously with purpose, your power and your purpose. because both of those things is what makes your life worth pressing on, worth continuing to live, worth wanting to make a difference, worth wanting to touch people. Oh, James says, that's good. Sometimes the doubt comes from myself. When others have said I do something well or had impact, I've had a tendency to not be confident in it or dismiss their encouragement. When my confidence wavers, it's hard to let the gift shine through. And that's true because, even though sometimes we don't see it, here's the thing. Having a gift that's not developed, or even having a gift that we may not see as a gift, that can make it hard to be confident in that, right? If we've not sharpened our gift, of course, if other people are pressing us to do it because they see it, and they may even know that there's so much more that we can do, there's so much farther we can go in that area. But if we're not taking the time to work that gift, yeah, our confidence can waver in that. And most of the time, it comes from within us, not because of what other people say, but it can come from the outside as well, when that becomes more important to us than what we know is on the inside. That can also cause our confidence to waver. So questions I want you to consider today, right? The first one is, what do you think your purpose is? Have you ever thought about that? Your own personal purpose. Not the general purpose of humanity and people, but you specifically. Have you ever thought about that? Do you know what your purpose is? And you don't have to answer that out loud, but ask yourself that question. Have you ever, or do you ever think about whether or not you're going to, or if you do, impact the world around you? Now, impact doesn't mean that you have to be a major humanitarian, or you have to be a politician, or even that you have to do missions or things that on a grand scale impact the world. But in your community, in your family, what inside of you draws people to you? Have you thought about that? And how often do you tap into that? Number 3, what wisdom have you gained through your life experiences that has made you more confident? Now that's important because in ways, the things that make us confident, that make us know who we are and what we can do and what power we have, those are the things that we hold on to in the moments when we don't feel so confident about what we have to offer. Right? When you say that? Because if things happen and challenges happen and you never learn from them, are you growing? Are you sharpening your sword? Are you developing the power that's within you? What gifts and strengths do you possess that you feel confident in when you use them? Could you name them? And so it could be that you're an excellent speaker, that you are really good at moving people. It could be that you are a wonderful writer. It could be that you are really great at organizing and bringing people together. Whatever it is that your gift, how often do you utilize it? How often do you work in that area? Do you work in that craft? And that's important because in order for us to touch the people around us, we have to know that there's going to be some growth that has to happen. And without that growth, it's not power, right? And so many of us get into routines and patterns in life where we do so much of what we have to do that we don't do enough of what we're called to do, of what we're purposed to do. Have you ever experienced that? that we are doing so much, so much of, I have to work. I have to work to get the paycheck. I have to work to pay my bills. That we never stop to think, or we never take action on the power that's within us. So, okay, let's say, for instance, I'm a pharmacist. I enjoy helping people, right? But there's a different way that I'd like to help people besides with medication. Does that make sense? So if I'm just going to work to do what I have to do, and I'm not thinking about how am I impacting the people around me, I'm going just to get a paycheck. And the way that I can impact lives when I'm at work, I probably won't do it. But because I know that I'm an encourager, I know that my job is to help strengthen people, to help enhance the lives of others around me. When I'm at work, I'm still doing that. I'm still asking myself, how can I impact somebody today? How can I touch somebody today? Who can I be a light to today? That's where my power lies, in finding ways to make somebody smile and finding ways to give somebody hope. And that may not be yours necessarily. You may do it in other ways. But are you in your day-to-day life doing what you're purposed to do? Or only what you have to do? That's no way to live if you're only doing what you have to do to get by. Because we're called for so much more than that. I hope you feel me. So your power doesn't come from outside of you, it comes from within. So what are you tapping into? When we talk about your personal power, what are you tapping into? Do you believe that you have not only a voice, but you have an ability, an innate ability inside of you for others to be changed, to be uplifted, and to find their own way just because of who you are, just because of the light that you shine, just because you decided to walk your own path and not walk the path that somebody else said that you should have or that you should take. So there are 3 things that I'll leave you guys with today. Short and sweet today, right? So number 1 is you have to know what it looks like to not walk in your power or to give away your power. Because in order to do something, we have to know what the opposing side is as well. So if you're not walking in your power, that means others have more influence over you and more say about your life than you do. Do you find that that's you? That instead of you deciding what your life will look like, the direction of your life, instead of you empowering yourself, you're looking for the approval of others in order to determine what you should and shouldn't be doing. If you're giving away your power, that means you lack trust in yourself. And you need the opinions of others for you to feel strong about what you're doing. That's not it. If you're not walking in your power, that means you know what you want, but you don't go after it out of fear of what people will think or say. Wow. That's definitely giving your power away. How many of y'all do that? How many of you have done it? I'll raise both of my hands. I have definitely done that before. I've said to myself that I really want to accomplish this goal. I really need to get here. I really want this in my life. And the people who matter to me said that's not important. So it became unimportant to me. Even though I knew that that's what I was called to do. I knew that's what I had a power to do, an authority to do. And if you don't know, that sets you back. You find that the longer you take to start walking in your power, when you look back at it, some of us, we start to regret. Like all the things I could have been doing, but I didn't because I gave my power away. And then if you're giving your power away, you lack confidence in your ability and you second guess yourself on a regular basis, whether it's in your mind or whether it's to other people. But do you know yourself? Do you know what you want? If so, then we can't continue to give away the very thing that makes us feel like we're alive, to make us feel purposeful, that makes us feel like our place in this world is one of impact, is one of influence. So we'll move on to ways that you know that you're walking in your power. And then the third thing we'll talk about is, how do we tap into our power, right? So what it looks like to walk into your power is that you press forward even in the face of conflict. Even when it looks like the thing that your dream, the thing that's inside of you to do, the thing that's burning inside of you. And that's the important part. Because if it's not a burning desire, it's not an area that will impact others in a way that's powerful. So have you ever sat beside somebody and you feel like uneasy because something about them was just off? Or have you heard somebody speaking, you're just like, something just doesn't sit well with you? Has that been you, that you've been speaking and you feel like something inside of me just doesn't sit well? Something doesn't sit right. I don't feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. Or I feel like something's just off. A lot of times that's because we're not, if it's us, it's because we're not walking in our power. If it's somebody else, it may be because they're trying to do something that's not for them. What's for you is for you. And you know that from the inside out. Nobody has to tell you. Nobody has to convince you. No one has to drag you into that purpose. No one has to pull that power out of you. When it's yours, it's yours. So also, when you're walking in your power, your confidence shines through regardless of who is around you. That means you're not intimidated because someone else may look like, and this goes back to the comparison trap. You're not intimidated because it may seem like someone else has an amazing gift, because you know what your gift is. You know what your own power is. And you're not afraid to express yourself in that area, even when you're surrounded by other great people. Because what do? When we're walking in our own power, we're not focused on them. We can focus on the collective. How can we together impact? But we're not focused on what they have and what we don't. Because when you're walking in your power, that's not a concern of yours. Also, you know your purpose. And you're purposeful, right? So think about it. Do we do things simply because we're good at it? Or do we do them because we know there's a purpose for it? If I'm singing, am I singing out of, because I really enjoy it and I have a gift to do it? Or am I doing it because I really want to shine a light for people to see? There are some voices that I've heard singing that are so calming. Like they literally shift whatever atmosphere. They literally change the entire mood. Even when you think about, if you think about music, period, it doesn't even have to be a voice. It can be someone playing an instrument, and they can totally shift whatever the mood and atmosphere is. And that's part of them walking in their power, walking in their purpose, walking in their gift, operating in their gift. You also know you're walking in your power if you take the responsibility for the direction of your life. You know that no one else has a say over what direction you go except you. So that means if you choose to sit on your gift and sit on opportunities to grow, and sit on opportunities to impact others, you take responsibility for that. That's not your parents' fault. It's not your job's fault. And when you do take responsibility for it, you decide that I have to do better. People are depending on me. My community is depending on me. My family is depending on me to be the light that I'm supposed to be. And then also, when you're walking in your power, you step up. You step up regardless, and especially in the areas of your personal power. So when I say that, what I mean is you don't sit on it. You don't sit on what you feel you're called to do. Because you see the bigger picture, you see the vision of what it is that, why you're doing what you're doing. And here's an example of that. If you know that if you're a humanitarian, if this is something that you're called to do, if this is something that you have a burning desire to do, to really help others across the world, across your community, across the country, whatever, and you decide, I'm more concerned about me and my family than anyone else. I'm really not worried about what they have. I'm really not worried about what they lack. If you sit on that, at some point, it's going to start eating you inside. Why? Because that's something that you know you're supposed to be doing, and you're not doing it. And that can go for literally anything that you know you're supposed to be doing. And you might ask, how do I know what I'm supposed to be doing? How do I tap into my personal power? Well, first, you have to find out what your purpose is. And I can't tell you that. No one can discover or tell you what your purpose is. But I can tell you that the areas that you're confident in, the areas that you, like I said, have a burning desire for, you have to take time to sharpen those gifts and then take every opportunity to work in those areas. So what happens if we decide, if all of us were to decide that it's not important for us to impact the world around us? Do you think that's a world? Do you think that's a world where we could tell our kids it's worth living in? Because the only way that our seed, our children, get to live in a world that's full of people that are givers, that pay it forward, is if the people in the world decide to walk in their power, which is doing what impacts the world around them. That's the only way. Also, tapping into your power means working on your ability. If it's speaking, the only time you work on that shouldn't be when you have to be in front of people. If it's encouraging, it shouldn't just be you encouraging others. You have to encourage yourself. If you're not encouraged by what you're doing, why would anyone else be? It has to start with you. It has to start inside of you. And then lastly, you have to love where you're at personally. Love where you're at and then love the journey. Fall in love with the journey of learning more about yourself and becoming more of what you're called to become. I always say that something that I desire is that I become the fullness of the woman that I'm supposed to be. Not partially, not, I feel like I lived a good life or a pretty good life, but I want the fullness of who I'm supposed to be, the entirety. And that to me is walking in my power. So like I said, short and sweet today, guys. So I hope that you got something great out of our discussion today. I absolutely also hope that if you have questions about anything I've talked about, right, or anything you want to add, if you're watching this on the replay, definitely put your comment in the comments. And then lastly, if you have not yet visited www.boldvibesllc.com to purchase my ebook, absolutely do that. Not only will it bless you, I know it will absolutely help the people around you. The book is called You Are Enough, Rebuilding Your Confidence After Divorce. And you don't have to have been divorced to feel like you want to rebuild your confidence, to feel like you might need a reboot, to feel like you need some information that will help you make better choices this time around in whatever your relationship is, whether it's a dating relationship, whether it's just learning more about yourself, whether it's getting help because you feel like you've lost your way. You don't love yourself as much as you used to. My book can help with that. Thank you guys so much for joining me again today. Happy Thursday. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend, and I'll see you again next Tuesday. Talk to you soon.